Good morning. Welcome to the Windsor Star News Cafe. I'm Don MacArthur here with Dylan Christie and our special guest, opinion columnist Anne Jarvis.
Hello, thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming back. You knocked it out of the park last time, so you're welcome back anytime. You had a column the other day setting up for tomorrow's chamber debate. Okay, Craig Pearson is going to be the host of that. And you essentially told all the candidates what they sort of needed to do, and it looks like some of them are taking your advice. So let's break it down. Start with everyone's presumptive favorite, Drew Dilkens. What does he need to do, and what are his flaws right now?
Well, I think he needs to do a number of things. He needs to, first of all, obviously show that he's approachable, that he's open to new ideas, that if you disagree with him, you're not an enemy of the state.
Yeah, well, exactly. You told him to control his caustic edge. Now, one thing that you pointed out, too, originally, there was that whole kerfuffle with the Canadian Federation of University Women in the debate they held. Initially, he said he was going to go. He backed out. And then he did end up coming. You said he dropped the ball with that one?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, this was his liability, and he knew that. He knew that that was the perception out in the community, that he wasn't open to people who might have a different take on things than him. And here this situation came up. He felt that, the NDP was invited, Unifor, Local 444, the biggest private sector union in the city was invited. And he was concerned that there wasn't an impartial moderator, that he might face some dissent, and initially said that he wasn't going to go. And that's a real mistake, I think, because he just shone a spotlight on what was his biggest liability. And then, of course, he agreed to go. But the whole thing, I think, was a bit insulting to the University Women group. To question how they were putting on their debate and who they were going to get to moderate it. And then, the lasting perception is that he did this, not that he ended up going. So.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, Graston did a great little cartoon on this, and it's sort of a strange dynamics emerging in this campaign when Milson or Horwitz, they attack Dilkens, and it's Eddie Francis that comes and defends him. So do you think Dilkens needs to sort of up it a bit, and he should be the one that answers the attacks instead of Eddie?
Well, I think he needs to differentiate himself from Eddie overall. I mean, so far his campaign has been basically dwelling on the past, what the current council has done. And I mean, that's part of your campaign when you're an incumbent. You have to defend your record. But I think that there really hasn't been a lot more other than that. I mean, he's talked about continuing the freeze on taxes, continuing to invest in infrastructure, basically more of the same. And I think he really needs to start to differentiate himself from Eddie. He needs to say that, this is my vision, and this is how I will go about trying to achieve it. And if there are things that people are questioning out in the community, and there definitely are, that's what John Milson is playing up. I think it's time to stop being defensive and to start to answer for some of these things. To say that when I am mayor, I'll address this.
Well, and one of the tough questions you said he needs to answer in your column was focused around jobs and investment. And now he does have a news conference at 2:30 at Horizon Roofing, I believe. Is that on County Road 42?
Yeah, County Road 42,
right.
yeah.
So who knows, maybe that's what he'll be talking about then. But do you feel like jobs obviously is one of the main pressing issues in Windsor? Should that be more of a focus for these candidates with concrete answers?
Oh, I think so. I think so, definitely. I mean, really what he has said so far has been a little on the light side. It's focused on taxes and infrastructure, and he really has not said much about jobs, although that is supposed to be one of the pillars of his campaign. So he will, as you said, have this press conference today. I mean, it's hard to say how much municipalities can do on their own to attract jobs, but certainly this has been a big focus of Eddie's term of office, and we know that he's gone to great lengths to try and attract some big companies here. Mixed results, I would say, and no one has really questioned. Drew's campaign is his slogan is something like building on success, but no one has questioned the fact that 9% of people in Windsor are still unemployed. So a lot of people would not call that success. Again, I think a municipality is somewhat limited in how many jobs they can create. But still, it seems to me that there's a different tack needed here, and so I think that all the candidates need to say what they would do, and Drew in particular needs to say what he would do differently instead of saying more of the same.
Yeah, no, sure.
Okay, now John Milson, the big thing against him is where have you been for 23 years? That's sort of what you said in your column. Guys like Dylan, myself too, we have to Google his name, like
Exactly,
who is
yeah.
he? You kind of MIA, so that's one of his big challenges. What else does Milson need to do in the chamber debate tomorrow?
Well, I think Milson has made some very valid points. I mean, he's called for an auditor general. He has questioned Drew's approachability. He's talked about jobs, of course, but he makes valid points and then he falls off quickly because there are contradictions in what he says, and it really isn't a lot of detail. I mean, he talks about leveraging the new Herbway Parkway and the border crossing to attract business, and that's a very smart idea. I mean, we're right on the border with the U.S. We've got a huge market with the U.S. Midwest, and we should be using that to our advantage. But he hasn't sort of differentiated his idea from the logistics hub at the airport, which of course has been in the works for the last 2 terms of council. So I think he needs to do that. And, he makes these points about, for example, what he calls double dipping, where councillors make not only their base salary, but they make extra money for sitting on boards and committees. Well, he made that extra money when he was mayor as well, and one of the reasons he gave for not running again after only 1 term, a 3-year term, by the way, terms are now 4 years, was that he needed to make more money. So that's a bit of a contradiction, and I think it's difficult for Milson to attack too effectively when he wrote a very effusive, very effusive email.
It's like he was asking Eddie to the prom. Like it really was. He was fishing for an endorsement. He was laying it on very, very thick, and then to turn it around and attack him, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a problem for him. I think that backfired.
And of course, Eddie sort of read part of that email to a reporter, and then Milson, the transparency candidate, or so he claims, he sort of leaked it all. So we thank him for that.
Yeah, we do, because if you read on further in the email, it was even more effusive than the part that Eddie read to us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Larry Horowitz. People think he's in 3rd place. You've been to a couple of press conferences. Is he getting a little bit better? The first one, I think you said they sort of cut off reporters' questions, but did he get a little better in the second one? And what's your advice to him? One of your, I think, pieces of advice is practice your pitch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he was a little bit better, I would say, last week in his last press conference. He still read the news release, which really is, and it was kind of stilted. But once he finished the news release and sort of put it aside, he seemed to be fine. I think maybe Larry just needs to toss the script and wing it. I mean, he's been doing this since July. He's been campaigning heavily, so he knows this stuff inside and out. But apparently he is practicing now, so that's a good thing. I think that he needs to, his biggest job, of course, is to be taken seriously. I mean, he has been campaigning heavily, as I said, but I think that a lot of people, the general public, I think, doesn't know him as well as Drew Dilkens and John Milson. So, and the people that do know him see him really only with the DWBIA, the Downtown Business Improvement Association. So that's what he needs to do, is be taken seriously. And the debate is his big chance. I mean, this is really the sort of the premier event of the election, every election. Yeah. The room is always packed. There are a lot of smart, influential people. This is the audience that he needs to reach. But I think that he will need to. He'll need to focus more. I mean, his platform is I think I called it a spray from a shotgun. He's talked about the Windsor-Detroit ferry. He's talked about light rail into the U.S. Midwest, and infrastructure and auditor general. On and on. He has to have some priorities. And I think that he also has to explain his math a bit better. Basically, his plan for paying for all this is that, well, I'm a businessman, so I know it'll work. And that's a big leap for a lot of voters. And the other thing he says is that he has, once his promises are implemented, it will draw investment, and that will result in tax revenue, and that will in turn pay for his promises. Well, that's you hear that from fringe candidates. You don't hear that from people who have really sat down to do the math. And last week, when he came out with this accusation of the $103 million funding deficit, I kept looking at this chart and thinking, that's a 5-year capital forecast. This is what councils across Ontario do every year. They set aside money for projects that they would like to do, and that's all this is. So
It could be changed too by as soon as the new council comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. A lot of these numbers are placeholders. So I thought either he doesn't understand the budget, and I really don't believe that. I mean, he is a businessman, or it's a bit of a cheap shot, and neither answer is very becoming for a mayoral.
Well, I go for the cheap shot just because, he is a pretty bright guy, and it made sort of a great photo op. He took Dilkin's slogan, building on success, scratched out success, and put excess.
I think he was pretty proud of that.
So could this be a real turning point for him then? Because going back to that first mayoral debate with the University Federation women, he wasn't there. He said he was going to be. He said he had prior commitments after the fact. He didn't show up. Is this a make or break for Larry Horowitz?
Well, just a word on that. You can't agree and then back out because you have a prior commitment, right? Because you didn't have a prior commitment. And I think he seemed to get a pass on that. It was Dilkins that got all the attention for originally saying he was not going to go and then going. Well, Larry did the opposite, and he seemed to get a pass on it.
That's true.
And that, he should have been questioned on that. And it wasn't, that would have been a great warm-up for him for tomorrow's debate. So he really should not have skipped that. And I think in terms of a turning point, I guess it depends on how he does. If he comes out strong, then that's what he needs to do for this particular audience. But if he reads a script and he's stilted, that could be the end of his campaign right there.
All right.
Okay. Quickly, let's just have a taste. You're writing a column for tomorrow about you hit the streets with Rena Bertolin. Tell the folks, just in brief, we don't want to give away the column, but what they can expect tomorrow.
Well, it was really interesting. Reno is running in Ward 3, of course, which is the downtown. And so we went on a stroll. We were out there for about an hour and a half, actually, in the neighborhoods around downtown. So we started on Church Street, a couple blocks south of the pool. And, they're nice streets. They've got sidewalks, they've got mature trees, they've got really interesting, nice old houses, Victorian houses. But the area has fallen into disrepair. And Reno's point is we've done a lot of things to try and revitalize the downtown. We've done streetscaping, we've brought the college and the university down, we've built the pool, we've fixed up the riverfront, and we're trying to sort of connect the riverfront to the downtown. But we keep saying the same thing, that we need to have people downtown to make it a lively, vibrant place, and we're right. But we haven't paid much attention to the neighborhoods surrounding the downtown, and these are neighborhoods that if you're coming from Toronto, it's kind of a beaches style neighborhood, and people from Toronto would kill for a place in a neighborhood like that. So Reno's idea is that maybe we should give the same incentives that we're giving businesses. We should give those incentives to developers and to homeowners to build on the vacant lots, to renovate the old houses, and I think there's a lot of merit in that argument.
Okay, so check her column online tonight or read it in tomorrow's paper. Chamber debate candidates, heed her advice. She's Anne Jarvis on Twitter, and thanks for joining us, Anne, in the Windsor Star News Cafe.
Well, thank you, and let me just get in a plug for you guys.
Okay, we were trying to, she told us this off camera, but okay, please, thank you.
A lot of people are watching these News Cafe interviews, and a lot of people are talking about them. In fact, I was talking to Tom Hunt, the city planner, yesterday, and he's been watching all of them, and he loves them. And so you guys are really doing a great job.
I'm tearing up, Anne.
You're getting 2 or 3 of these people in every day, and they give their pitch, and voters get it's a lot bigger chance this election, I think, for voters to see what the candidates are like. So.
No, well, we appreciate it. We love hearing it. Often it's a thankless job, and we come in bright and early, we set up, and we love having people in, and really, it's just a matter of giving people a platform, a soapbox, to be able to get up and, get their spiel out there. So it's been great. We love it. It's going to be a bit of a letdown after the election, so hopefully we can keep the momentum going.